Hello, everybody. My name is Jason Klein. I'm the director of P20 Initiatives, and this is another presentation in our fall P20 network meeting, which we're hosting virtually with this series of YouTube videos, all included on the fall P20 network playlist here on YouTube. This is another presentation, our second presentation on the NIU P20 Research and Data Collaborative, which is an initiative that's been put together by a number of different internal groups at Northern Illinois University to support research out in the field for practitioners, for state agencies, for other interested groups around education, learning, workforce development. And so today we're super excited. We've got co-superintendents with you who have long careers in educational administration prior to this. And we've just engaged in a project with their school district. So we're going to talk about what this looks like from a school district perspective or a local perspective. It could be a community college, again, a community organization, to engage in a project with us. We've already heard in the other presentation with Dr. Clemens, Dr. Creed, and Dr. Summers about kind of that high-level overview of the NIU P20 Research and Data Collaborative. So now I'm going to turn it over. Steve, Lynn, can I ask each of you to introduce yourselves, please?
Lynn, I'll let you go first.
Okay, I'm Lynn Gibson. I'm one of the interim superintendents in the Paw Paw 271 district. This is my second year here. Steve Epperson and I work together on the superintendent responsibilities with our Board of Education. I've been a longtime educator and superintendent, and decided in retirement to go back and give back, as we had talked about, give back to our profession, and to continue to do that. Steve, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I'm also a retired superintendent. I spent a lot of my time in Central Illinois, and then my last few years in the western suburbs. As Lynn said, we were kind of recruited to take on the interim superintendent duties in Paw Paw last year. There's quite a bit of work to do in the district, and so we offered to come back a second year, and the board accepted that. And so we've been working together now, and had a great relationship with Northern this year. So it's been, it really couldn't have worked out better. And I know Jason wants to go into more detail, so I'll let him kind of lead in on that.
So we have just engaged in a research project that had a lot of components to it. I guess I'll briefly throw out that research project did include student and parent surveys. That was an originally constructed survey, as well as analyses of course enrollments, academic performance. There would have been room for focus groups and test score analysis had spring of 2020 looked different than it turned out to look for all of us. So it was a pretty comprehensive look. And I guess, Lynn, Steve, if you could talk about a little bit your motivations for wanting to bring in an outside group to do some research on a specific topic for your school district, we'd love to hear about that.
Well, we did some restructuring of our high school is what happened. And so our high school students were attending another high school about 10 miles away from Paw Paw. And the board, and certainly Lynn and I, were interested in how that whole experience went for our kids. This was last year was the first year that had happened. And so we wanted to try to get some feedback. And as Lynn and I talked more and more about it, it became clear to us that really at a small school district like Paw Paw, we just really didn't have the capacity to really do the kind of study that we thought would provide meaningful results. And so because of Lynn's connections at Northern, we made some phone calls, and that led us to Jason, and he worked with us very closely in kind of designing the study, what it would look like. And as he mentioned, we were really hopeful of doing focus groups and that kind of thing, but it just was not possible with all of the COVID things that were happening in the spring. So it was really, in our case, it was a matter of just needing additional capacity to do something meaningful, and Northern was right there to help us. So Lynn, I don't know if you want to add anything more to that or not.
Sure, just a couple things. We were looking also for a third party so that, there was no one in the community, no one tied to us that would be able to have an outsider's perspective, kind of a clean lens on what was really happening, and how were things going at the high school for our students and for the parents of our students. And in reaching out to Northern, we knew that they would be able to do an objective, reasonably priced study for us, and that we could set up the study so that if the district wanted to continue it, for the next few years or every other year or whatever they would like to do, that we would have that systemic look at how are things going in a deactivated high school situation in a different district. And we worked closely with the administration in the other district in Indian Creek to make sure that we were sharing information and gathering input from them also.
So from this process, first of all, and I appreciate all your kind words, but what were some of the highlights that you would want to call out for other school leaders, leaders of community colleges, organizations?
Go ahead, Steve. I'll hop in.
I guess the one thing for me, I'm not sure, Jason, if you're asking about some of the results of the survey or the process we went through in getting there. Could you kind of clarify?
I was thinking process probably, but certainly if there was something related to the results and it was something you were comfortable sharing, you're welcome to do that too. But this was intended to be more of a process question. So thanks for asking for that.
Again, we went through and we talked about kind of what our end goal was to be. And then we kind of what do you call that, backwards design? We kind of started there and then worked our way back. Okay, what kind of things do we need to do? And I'll be quite honest, one of the things that Northern wanted to include in the study was an analysis grade point averages. And I was a little bit skeptical of that, to tell you the truth, and a little bit uneasy because our kids were going to a new environment and everything was new to them. And so I was worried that in that particular environment that their GPAs might go down, and then that might create some questions about the entire endeavor. And it turns out I was surprised. I don't know about Lynn, I don't know about Jason, but I was surprised that our kids actually, their grade point averages went up during the first year that they were at Indian Creek. So that is something that even had we been able to put together a study of some sort, I don't think we would have ever got at that kind of a finding based on, because again, it was all designed by Northern, and I would have not come up with that. I can assure you that. Well,
and that's a great example too of a point on which there's all kinds of caveats that we're all well aware of as practitioners around grades. And around the differences from one classroom to another, let alone one school to another. And one of the things we tried to do was both design the study, taking those into account, and report out what those caveats are so that someone, a school board member who picks it up and reads it, goes, oh, okay, this is the context in which I'm reading this. And yet these results are still real positive. So hopefully we accomplished that in doing that. But I really appreciate Steve's perspective.
Well, and I would add to that for any superintendent or school district that would be, looking to do something like this, it's always a good idea to have the data that we can really take a look at, and that can be both narrative as well as statistical data. Both are important, but to have what Northern did with, they looked at the background of the district, they looked at methodology, they brought up key findings, they went, all of the things that you see in a good solid study were there. And that, of course, the recommendations for action and then for future action and what to do. So all of that is a guiding document for us to take a look at, not just to see where we are at this point in time, but how do we want to go forward. So that's the beauty of doing something like this with a university like NIU.
Yeah,
go ahead, Steve.
Jason, sorry to interrupt, but another thing that I was thinking about in terms of the design was that one of the problems we had was in our surveys that we didn't have any baseline data. It wasn't possible for us to have data from the year before our kids went to Indian Creek High School. So Northern designed their survey so they could do some comparative analysis with how other students and other parents responded to similar questions. So at least there would be some way to compare what their answers were in comparison to other kids and other parents on surveys similar to that. So I think it was the 5 essentials, wasn't it, Jason?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was really helpful because, just to get survey responses, they mean nothing when they're just hanging out in the air with nothing to compare them to.
Yeah, for sure. Now, one of the things I was curious about was if there were any surprises to you, either in the process or in the results from the process. And Steve, you've just shared with us one. I don't know if you have any others, or Lynn, if you have any surprises, good, bad, or otherwise, that emerged from this process that you'd want other administrators to be aware of.
I'm trying to think if I would call it a surprise. More, maybe, as Steve talked about, when we looked at the academic data, also, the majority of the comments from parents and students were positive. And so I don't know that I was surprised at that, but I didn't know what that would look like. Because when you deactivate or do a consolidation, they have some similar feel to them. Mm-hmm. There are some field people in the community who are really excited about it, and others that feel like the community's being torn apart, and how could we possibly do this or whatever. But it was good to see that all the responses at the majority were positive. Not that necessarily that's good or bad. I mean, I guess it's good since we've deactivated and are planning to stay that way for at least for the foreseeable future. But it's good to know that our students and their parents are feeling comfortable enough over there to express that. So. And
they did express a wide range of opinions in their comments. So there seems to be a comfort with expressing what they're really feeling. Right. And again, in our perfect methodological design for this, we would have followed up on the surveys with focus groups to explore some of those things in more detail. And so I appreciate Lynn bringing up that component of the survey, because we could have dug even further had we been able to do the focus groups. And the truth is, like today, we could probably do focus groups in Zoom, for example, or another,
we're used to it now,
another video platform. But in April and May, and it's hard to remember this for lots of us, that would have been a big ask of parents or of students at that point, as things were moving so quickly on everybody. Steve, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, again, I mentioned earlier kind of the academic part of it that I was a little bit surprised by the findings. But again, I thought you told us right up front what the design was going to look like. And as far as the process and how the survey was conducted, I didn't have really any surprises in that area at all. And you know how administrators are, we don't like surprises. So that's a good thing.
I do know that. And for those watching, 2 decades of administrative experience for me, not only do I know that, my family knows I still don't like surprises, even after a year of being at Northern Illinois University. If it's supposed to be a chocolate cupcake, it just needs to be a chocolate cupcake unless I've got a day or two to prepare otherwise. So one of the things we think is really a hallmark of our work at the P20 Research and Data Collaborative is the idea that not only is it a collaborative of these internal groups at Northern Illinois University, but we've created multiple logic models that are really how we want to go about doing research projects, whether it's with a statewide evaluation with a state agency like the Illinois State Board of Education or the Illinois Board of Higher Education, or whether it's with a school district or a community college or another organization of any size. And the collaboration is really a critical thread that runs through these logic models we've developed for how we want to engage in these partnerships. So the question I would ask is, do you have any additional comments about the nature of the collaboration between our group and the school district as we went through the process?
I could start this. The collaboration ranged from, as Steve talked about, what methods are we using and all of that, all the way to Jason, you coming to a board meeting and explaining what the study would be like, so that the board would feel comfortable with collaborating with Northern, not only in the study, but also with the cost of it. And it was, it was reasonable cost, and the study was effective. So, I mean, there's what's not to like, right? So, but I think that collaboration was not only with Steve and me and with our principal, but and with the other school district, Indian Creek, but it was also with our Board of Education. And that was at an open meeting where community members could also ask questions if they chose to. So that collaboration spanned, even beyond the district by doing it that way. Steve, I don't know if you have anything else or.
Just to follow up, I mean, it wasn't one of these things which been involved in these where you hire some outside group to come in, do a study, they do their thing, they drop it on your desk and away they go and you never hear from them again. And that really hasn't been the case at all with Northern. In fact, I guess I can say this, that Jason is planning to attend our next board meeting on October to present the findings to the board and answer any questions that they have. So they really initiated the project like we hoped they would, and have followed through with everything that we had hoped.
Final thoughts that you would want to share with other school leaders and educators who may be considering partnering with an outside group and considering the NIU P20 Research and Data Collaborative and what we might have to offer their organizations.
I would recommend it. We're in conversation with Northern and with Jason's team about on another project that will, we hope, very positively affect rural school districts as we look at educator shortage and then even a deeper educator shortage in the rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just beginning conversations with that as we're wrapping up this year of the study. And then as far as we know, our board is interested in taking a look at continuing this study for at least for a few years, just to make sure that things are settling in Indian Creek the way we'd like them to, and it appears that's going to work out well. So Steve, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say that I've been, as you can probably tell from my lack of hair and color of my hair, I've been around for a while and done this for a long time. And over the years, we've had a tendency to kind of operate and make gut level decisions at the administrative level. That's probably not a term that you'd want to use in your research, Jason, but we have tended to do that. And of course, in more recent years, we've tried to be more data driven in our approach to decision making and so on. So this, utilizing a service like Northern can provide, I think can provide small school districts that don't have the capacity to generate their own data a way to help make better decisions. And that's really what this was all about for our little district is, did the deactivation help our kids? That was the whole goal. Did it provide our kids with more opportunities? Were they reasonably successful in their new environment? And was it good for them to be at a larger high school? And really, the initial findings indicate that that probably is true. So we have to, just one thing we didn't mention earlier is that with a deactivation agreement, we have to renew this every 2 years. So we're looking at that again right now. And the data that has been provided by Northern is going to be a big part of our decision making. So I thank Jason and I thank his staff for their help. And I definitely recommend other superintendents that need this kind of service to certainly consider Northern for providing it.
Well, and one of the things I'll add, and thank you both so much, and one of the things I'll add, and Lynn alluded to this earlier, sometimes we need to have an outside group come in just because of the politics around a particular situation. So even for larger districts, and there's not a lot, but certainly we have school districts in Illinois that have really robust research teams. And those that do, I know a lot of those people, extremely talented school administrators, educators, and researchers, and community colleges, again, with their IR, their institutional research groups. Again, very, very talented folks. But if you need someone from the outside, what we do offer is that partnership. We'd love to talk with those experts also as part of that process. But you can rest assured that you'll be presenting something that's objective and that your community will hopefully understand as objective by having someone from the outside do it. So we're here to help. We're here to serve. We know how hard, not just Lynn and Steve, but everybody is working always, but it's more true right now than it's ever been in my career. And so Lynn, Steve, thank you guys so much for joining us and for giving us the opportunity to work on the project. It's been exciting and interesting, and we're so happy to see about the success that the Paw Paw students are having wherever they're having it, at Paw Paw or at Indian Creek. And so we're really, really happy to be a part of the team there working alongside you.
You're welcome, Jason. And just a final note. In school districts, one of the things that we always are talking about working on, whether it's our strategic plans or our school improvement plans, our facilities plans, whatever, we're working on is the continuous improvement model to those, so that we're always, and I think adding that research layer to our school districts, raises the bar for us as school districts, as Steve said, to have that data from an outside party that we can take a look at for that continuous improvement model that we're all functioning under. Even with COVID-19, we're on it, so I think that raising that bar with that research is just an incredible gift to have in a school district, and that we should seek that more often. And we appreciate NIU's help, as Steve said. We thank you and your team for everything.
It's our pleasure. Thank you both. I hope both of you have a great day. And to those of you who've watched, thanks for watching. Remember, we've got a full playlist of presentations on research and data, college and career readiness, which includes just high quality instruction and instructional improvement, and on equity. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks.